Hello, one person watching. I was listening to Adam Green. Today is Anti-Semitism Day, or talking about anti-Semitism, really. So Adam Green on his Odyssey channel is talking about how outrageous it is that CNN and something else, ADL and CNN have said that anti-Semitism is a conspiracy theory. Now, is that true? Well, anti-Semitism is just hatred of Jews, and you can hate Jews just because you don't like them, no particular reason, without necessarily thinking they are conspiring against you. You just don't like the look of them. You never did. You don't see why they, whatever. I suppose it's natural in the unprincipled, in people who have a shaky grasp of reality, and basically they have no problem introducing the people that they hate. So if they don't like you, they're going to lie about you and make up all kinds of stories about you. And if they don't like Jews, they're just going to make up all kinds of stuff about how evil they are and how they got up to all kinds of things. We don't know if these conspiracy theories are actually believed in or invented, and whose inventors pretend they believe in them. Of course, that would be quite likely to happen. If you want to invent a conspiracy theory, you would have to behave as if you believed in them and get other people to believe in them, because that is the whole point of making up stories. So, do people really believe in them? It's hard to tell. Because really, it's all a question of the burden of proof. And by this I mean which party has to prove what? Does the prosecution have to prove the guilt of the defendant, or does the defendant have to prove his innocence? Now you can immediately see, I hope, which rule would favour whom. So obviously, the burden of proof should be on the prosecution if you incline towards liberty. And obviously, if you want to keep everyone frightened, you should favour the requirement that the accused be required to prove his innocence. So, if somebody's going to accuse you of murder, of theft, of a historic sexual offence, well, you better hope you have an alibi. And if you can't remember what you were doing 20 years ago, then too bad. You get your reputation destroyed. You get your stuff taken off you, and people will just laugh. Especially the peasants below you, because they think because you did better than them, you must be a crook. And they will laugh at you for no, even if you never harmed a hair on their head. They just have to just envy you, and that justifies their hatred, and then it justifies stories being invented about you and believed in, and well, that sort of thing. So Adam Green's position is that Jews have too much power. He doesn't like them saying anti-Semitism is a conspiracy theory, even though he does have quite a few conspiracy theories cooking. Should the discussion of conspiracy theories be banned? Of course not. I think a responsible state media would be dealing with them. And of course, conspiracy theorists would be invited to explain their conspiracy theory on dedicated channels, and people can go and defend them. You know, if you're Jewish and they say things about you, if you're Muslim and they say things about you, you get your right to reply from these people who hate you, who make up stories and end up believing in them. I think the most dangerous thing for Jews now is that they are being accused of Christianity. They are, and they can't really deny it. After all, Paul of Tarsus was a Jew, and he got all those Gentiles to start worshipping a dead Jew on a stick, right? And according to the Christian narrative, Jesus said his papa was God, and apparently they've believed it for so long, or behaved as if they believed in it, and some of them are very angry, the post-Christians who just realize that they've been lied to all their lives, their parents have been lied to, their grandparents, going all the way back to the inception of Christianity. And who was responsible for its propagation? The heretical Jew Paul of Tarsus. So these anti-Semites who want to blame Jews for Christianity, tricking these pathetic Gentiles for worshipping a dead Jew on a stick for 2,000 years. Well, I guess they're angry. They're angry that somebody perpetrated this cosmic fraud on them. And it's only been in recent centuries that, they felt emboldened enough to ask questions about it, because before they were allowed to talk about such things, the penalty for questioning the divinity of Jesus was to be burnt at the stake. So, anti-Semites who want to blame something on Jews might want to blame Christianity on Jews, right? I mean, it is the worship of a dead Jew on a stick, and some other dead Jew went around propagating the worship of a dead Jew. So there's going to be some trouble. This is, in fact, Adam Green's thesis. That is why I mention it. Adam Green blames Jews for Christianity. He's saying Jews injected the poison of Christianity, and look at us now. Look at us. They did it. That's Adam Green's line, isn't it? Too bad Adam Green won't talk to me. He's another one of those people who won't talk to me because, well, I don't know, I don't exist or whatever. There's so many of these cowardly Western men who are so brave and so clever and so well researched, but they don't want to talk to me because what? Anyway, they don't want to talk to me because, well, they can. I mean, they don't have to talk to me. It's a free country, right? But what do you think their reasons might be for not talking about me? If I manage to challenge the narrative that Christians have other people to blame rather than Jews for their idolatrous and blasphemous religion. I mean, they didn't have to believe in it, did they? I suppose you could say, well, if our monarch would burn us at the stake for questioning the Trinity, then it obviously wouldn't do for us to question the Trinity, because we don't want to be burned at the stake. But since the 1813 doctrine of the Trinity Act, Anglicans could question the Trinity without incurring any penalty at all. And now, 200 years later, Christianity is apparently still around. You see the artifacts of Christianity, their cathedrals, their churches, and they are being used as buildings, as public buildings, as sites of attraction for tourists to visit. But the real operation of religion, it no longer functions. That's why I call cathedrals and churches artifacts. There is no. I'm pretty certain that in any gathering of people in a Christian place of worship, most of them are not Christian, and even if they were Christian, they don't really believe that Jesus is God. In fact, many of them don't even know they're supposed to believe in it. The Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, didn't know he was supposed to believe in that shit. That's why he said things like, "Oh, sometimes I wonder if God really exists, but I'm sure Jesus did." And that was when I realized that he didn't even know the shit he was supposed to believe in. He didn't even know. So you get all these Christians, they go to church, they recite the Nicene Creed, they don't know what it means. Because the Nicene Creed is about believing that Jesus is half man and half God. No, that's not how they put it. Holy man and holy God. I mean, if you wanted to ask a few questions about the logic of the statement about the excluded middle, I guess you'd be burned at the stake for questioning it. And what about the Athanasian Creed that, nobody claiming a Christian even relies on it because it's such a ridiculous document that you wouldn't be able to, read it all the way through without chortling. So the most despised religion in the West is not Islam, but Christianity, and it is the source of the self-loathing the Westerner feels for himself. And he's blaming the Jews, because Jews created Christianity. It's about worshipping a dead Jew at the behest of another dead Jew. They did it, apparently. That is the outrage. I mean, forget the blood libel and who they do usury, they make us go to war. No, that's nothing. That's nothing compared to the cosmic fraud perpetrated on how many generations of Europeans? And they're going to be blaming Jews for it. Jews who are the victims of the Spanish Inquisition, the Crusades. They're going to get the blame again this time. It won't help them to say, we don't even acknowledge the existence of Jesus in our Talmud. Oh, no, there's no mention of him. We haven't even got a record of him being crucified. There's nothing in our Talmud. It won't matter, though. When somebody is looking to break up with you, they'll find an excuse. Don't you worry. They'll find something to blame you for. So what is a good defense? Because it sounds like these post-Christians, like Adam Green, who want to blame Christianity on Jews. Well, nobody's denying that Paul of Tarsus was a Jew, the one who underwent the Damascene conversion. When he thought, oh, I'm not going to bother with, pushing Jesus on Jews anymore. I'm going to push him on Gentiles because they're stupid. They don't know they're not supposed to be worshipping idols. So I can get them to support my new religion. There's no point asking my fellow Jews to support another dead Jew. They'll never stand for it. So I'll just push the filth of worshipping a dead Jew on those Gentiles and start a new religion that way. So that's what he did. It sold very well. Constantine the Great adopted it. Well, there was nothing else around. I mean, Islam wasn't around. So the only biggish religion that was new, different to the cult of emperor worship, that wasn't the a repetition of the Greek pantheon. Well, really, the only thing around was Christianity, so he adopted it. But I'm sure that if Islam had been around, he would have adopted that instead, because it's obviously superior and comes with its own, divine handbook, its own book of rules with the laws of God. I think I should be able to prove that. If people are being reasonable, but there may be people who are going to deny all this. People like Adam Green, I suppose, because people like him would just want to blame Jews for Christianity. These anti-Semites, they come in different sizes and varieties. An arch anti-Semite would be E. Michael Jones. But he's Catholic, and he doesn't really get on with the other Catholics like Michael Voris. And we know that what he really would like is to be Pope of America and to conduct an inquisition on non-Catholics. And that would include Jews and Gentiles. Gentiles who are the wrong kind of Christian. So that's a bit of a no-hoper, even though, he makes quite sensible remarks about who controls the supply of sex, controls the politics, or words to that effect. I have spoken to E. Michael Jones twice. He's not talking to me again. I don't think Adam Green will ever want to talk to me, even though I've brought myself to his attention quite a few times. And thank you, David, for mentioning that it was I who introduced Joseph Atwill to Adam Green, and he was not mentioning my name because I'm persona non grata, because he doesn't want to answer my questions. I have a few. So Adam Green's shtick is to reject the Abrahamic God because, well, he hates it so much. I mean, the God that made Jews his chosen people, that would be hateful to Adam Green, who grew up Christian. But he's rejecting Christianity, and of course he would reject Islam because it's worship of the Abrahamic God. So I think he's going to introduce some kind of, well, I don't know, some American deity, maybe a Native American one, and so Americans can stick to the roots of their land or whatever. Maybe some totem pole. What is it about blaming the Jews, that is? so irresistible. And it can't be solved by giving Jews more rights and more protection, because it would only confirm on the part of those who hate them that they do indeed control the world. And they will blame Jews for the increased censorship. Are Jews to blame, though? Well, yes and no. It's a kind of answer that you'll get from me. It's a theological answer and a psychological answer, as far as I'm concerned. So the theological answer is that Jews will be punished by anti-Semitism through Gentiles if they don't do what they're supposed to do. Have they been doing what they're supposed to do? Well, they're supposed to teach the Noahide laws, and in this video, in a stream by Adam Green, he's talking about the Noahide laws in a hateful way. But that makes you quite easy to identify if you hate the Noahide laws because they're Jewish. So there are many ways of sort of marking out, anti-Semites. Christians would be the ones most objecting to the Noahide laws, because they already know that the Noahide laws forbid idolatry and blasphemy, and they already know their religion fits that description. So I guess I'm complaining that nobody will talk to me, because they prefer to stick to their narrative. They don't want their narrative changed. They want to think Jews did it. They don't really want to talk about maybe Jews not doing it, because they might lose their subscribers. They're not interested in truth. They're as interested in truth as, well, mainstream media are interested in truth. Right? What about the people I deal with who won't cooperate? Or do I want them to cooperate with? I'm not saying you have to accept secular Quranism or else. I don't say things like that. You know me. You can say anything about secular Quranism. You can ask me questions about secular Quranism, but they won't even do that. They won't even have a discussion. They can't even talk about it. My idea is so horrifying and so detestable that they can't even bring themselves to discuss it. They have to agree to a vow of never discussing secular Quranism, and saying pathetic things like, oh, but it's just not British, and therefore we reject it because it's not British. What is British? Kebabs, curries, Cobra beer. Chinese takeaway. It doesn't matter. It's what works. If you haven't got a working moral system and you need one, well, beggars can't be choosers. Is there some sort of idiotic suggestion that some Briton might cook up a religion just for the British? I don't think so. I don't think the person who's not cooperating with me is saying anything of the sort. I think they're just saying, us bachelors, we'll just let the whole thing crash and then somebody else can build it, can rebuild it. We're going to build back better. We don't care because we'll be dead. But as long as we go to our graves, not having to discuss secular Quranism, that'll do. That's our, that's the height of our low ambitions. The pathetic pygmies of political thought. Avoidance, evasion, cowardice, contemptible cowardice. That makes women despise them and vote for more immigrants to replace their pathetic, cowardly, unprincipled, flabby, flaccid, neurotic men. Imagine huddling together these cowardly, contemptible, neurotic men unable to discuss ideas. They wouldn't be able to prove that Jews did it, other than say, oh, well, Paul did Damascene conversion and wrote his letters to, those Philippians and Galatians and Colossians and Corinthians. He got those people there to worship a dead Jew. And then Constantine thought he'd do it too, and then then these European monarchs thought, well, we need the Catholic Church to support our divine right to rule. And it worked until 1649, when the English king, Charles I, lost his head during the English Civil War. And the English Civil War was a combination of, well, not quite deciding whether the English wanted to be Catholic or Anglican, and the right of the monarch to tax his barons. So that was it, so kingship had to be supported by some higher authority. Everybody knows this. In theory, yeah. Well, if you don't want to acknowledge the existence of God, you can say unknown forces, destiny, natural disaster, historical events. Will interrupt whatever the monarch had in mind. So Christianity failed Charles I. And then in 1765, the Americans rejected rule by a Christian monarch. So what more do you want to have it confirmed that Christianity has been rejected? Where was I? Oh yes, I was complaining about not being allowed on bigger channels because to discuss anything, obviously I want to discuss a subject that the streamer wants to discuss, like, that Talmudist Adam Green who wants to blame Christianity on Jews. Got it doubts that Adam Green has heard of me. Well, he should have heard of me because his latest guest was courtesy of me. But he chose not to acknowledge it, these. He got Joe Atwell's address through me, email address through me. But these sort of lying cunts. They will lie because they don't believe in anything except whatever thing they want to lie about. So a person who doesn't have a religion, that's Adam Green. He's in the course of cooking up some pagan mashup for his fellow Americans to follow. So it'll be interesting to see, what shit is cooked up, in the absence of any decent religion. I mean, there is one existing, but, they're too Islamophobic to consider it, right? It's got Book of Rules, it's got a track record of 1,600 years. Is it 1,600 or 1,400? 1,400. Yes. So, it's all working fine, but, you think liberalism is better, you think BLM is better, you think intersectionality is better. So I guess it's not going to happen. Isn't there supposed to be some stream today with Ed Dutton and, what's his name? Rob Dufour. Maybe it's on now. Nothing happening. But that's the trouble with not having a religion. You get all these, people lying and people wanting to believe in lies because, well, they have nothing. But they're not really told to believe in anything except what the government wants, and the government can't make up its mind. Like a dithering woman, it can't make up its mind what it wants us to believe in, and it's just going round in circles. So, that's one of the reasons why you need a religion, so that every generation doesn't have to think that the next generation is a heretic. But they don't want to discuss things like that, not millennial woes, not any of the big ones. They just have to go on about lockdown and vaccines, like they think it's going to be the future of nationalism, whinging about lockdown and hoping that eventually enough people will rise up against the government. So that's their long-term strategy. Not mine. I have a better planned one, but nobody wants to listen to it because it's too Muslim. So we'll see. People are, if they have a death wish, then nothing can stop them. If somebody wants to kill themselves, you could just leave the room for a bit and you'll find that they've hanged themselves with their shoelaces or cut their own throats or done something, jump out of the window. There's nothing you can do. They really want to kill themselves. They don't care. Yes, I have. Dual citizen, I have. I've met most people in nationalism. So I don't really appreciate being fucked about for no good reason. Other than, well, we just don't want to talk about it at the moment. We don't want to talk about it. As for Jews, I think they're getting a bit nervous. I would be if I were them. I mean, everybody would be nervous, really. It doesn't matter if you're majority or minority. If your country is sinking, it's not going to be good, and you don't really want to go to a different country because there's just no guarantee they're going to be nice to you. Most people just want to, be near where they grew up and have been living, and they just want improved government. And this is what I offer people, in theory anyway, that, I tell them what went wrong, and they can choose to correct it or not. But it's ridiculous that I can't get anyone to discuss it rationally. I mean, all I'm stuck with are people who are fucked in the head, who can't talk about things, who can't ask the obvious next question. So it's a bit of a pain. But I have to keep hoping that something will turn right, that somebody will do the right thing. Godfrey Melling. Yeah, they always ask me this question. Yes, I've been double jabbed. I'm not getting a booster. Is that all right for you? So, who's fat shamed you, Stephen James? I don't know why Stephen James is complaining about being fat shamed. He's not fat. I've never appeared on James Dellingpole. Ralph has, but Dellingpole, he knows me. We've had a few email exchanges, but he's not going to acknowledge me. They know who I am. I've met Peter Hitchens. He doesn't like my idea of disestablishing the Church of England. I'm pretty sure of that. But he can't bring himself to discuss it, Can't discuss it. He just wants to ignore me until I fade away. And so does everybody else. Stephen James, I wasn't thinking of you when I was talking about flabby men. I don't mean anybody with a smaller channel than me. I'm just talking about people who have more subscribers than me. So I'm not talking about you. Definitely, Stephen James. All right, I think I've said all I want to say. I feel a little bit better now. Thank you for listening to me.